If you are currently struggling with procrastination, you probably think that you have a problem with time management or getting things done, or you need to improve your productivity systems. But what if I told you that there's actually a lot of research and a lot of studies around why we actually procrastinate? Yes, that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video, and I can't wait to share it with you. So let's jump right in. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer. And I am feeling really excited to record this video for you today because I want to share a secret with you today about procrastination that I learned about a couple of weeks ago. And it honestly completely blew my mind, and it has absolutely helped me to overcome procrastination in the moment. So if you are currently struggling with procrastination, it doesn't only mean that you are most likely a high performer, but that you also have very, very high standards of your work. Because here's the first thing: low performers don't really struggle with procrastination. It's usually the high performers that struggle with procrastination because you have super, super high standards of what you want your task or your project to look like at the end when you're done with it, right? So fear not, there is obviously help. And one of the most interesting things here that I want to mention first of all is that oftentimes we think that procrastination absolutely relates to time management, to task management, to breaking things down, right? All of these different things, productivity systems, getting things done. We always talk about these different things when we are talking about procrastination, but there is something else that I want to share with you today that is so much more interesting and so much more powerful. I also recorded another video about procrastination on my channel last summer. So if you are curious about that, because I share actually another thing in there that is super, super important to know when it comes to procrastination, make sure to check out the video here. And also, because I mentioned that I learned about this very, very newly a couple of weeks ago, I actually learned about it from a cognitive neuroscientist. And she was on my Academy of Peak Performers, which is my weekly group coaching call. And I did publish this section of what she told us as well in my podcast. So if you're curious to just learn about the podcast and learn about her explanation, then make sure to check it out here. But I obviously recorded this video to make it short and concise and available to everyone to learn about the secret of procrastination. What do you need to learn about procrastination? And so let's jump into what it all means. Okay, so procrastination, like I said before, we oftentimes think that it has something to do with time management, productivity systems, getting things done. This is all great and all good, obviously motivation, inspiration, all of these different things. But the biggest thing when it comes to procrastination, what researchers found, what studies found, it has absolutely nothing to do with any of these things. If you are currently procrastinating, it is a problem of emotional misalignment. Okay, emotional misalignment. What does that mean? So when we are thinking about a balance or a scale, you have on one side your sense of self, your confidence levels, right? Your abilities and your skills. And on the other hand, you have your task. And it is like a scale, right? So like a balance. And if your sense of self, so if that one side, yourself, is lighter than the task, then you're going to start procrastinate because you don't feel like you have the confidence. You feel like you don't have what it takes in order to take care of this task. Okay, so super, super simple. We are talking about emotional misalignment. And this is super interesting because here's the next thing that is super important when we talk about procrastination and emotional misalignment: perception. Because as peak performers or as high performers, as I mentioned earlier, we have very high standards. We have very, very high expectations of ourselves to get things done in a certain way, not just in any way. We want it to be perfect. We want it to be high quality. We want it to be great, okay? So when we have that kind of not so high sense of self and we're having this really heavy task, this really big project, we're going to start procrastinate. We're going to start going in the kitchen, making a cup of tea, responding to a couple of different emails, reorganizing our to-do list, just to not start this project because it just feels too heavy at the moment in order to get it done. So what we need to do in order to kind of obviously balance out that scale is that we need to improve, like level up our confidence levels, right? We want it to be better. We want us to feel good because let's think about it. If we are, for example, answering an email, then the email is a super easy task. We are super high in confidence that we can do this, and boom, we bang it out, and we get some dopamine afterwards in order to feel good about ourselves, and we move on to the next task. But it's not like that with these heavier tasks, okay? So I think first of all, just the sheer awareness of why we are procrastinating is super powerful. So this has been proven by multiple research studies that this is the thing about not getting things done, okay? So the next question obviously is, how can I increase my sense of self in order to tackle this task? Because I still need to tackle it, right? And there are a couple of different ways on how to do this, and I want to share a couple with you. First of all, you can obviously sit down and think about a moment where you have already done really difficult tasks in the past to increase your sense of self and your confidence, right? Because it's all about perception. It's all about how you feel about yourself, and because you have high expectations, you sometimes think, oh, I can't do this, but you can actually do it, and you know you can. So think about a project, sit down for a moment and write down all of the projects that you have already done in your life that showed that you are a peak performer and that you can get things done, that you can get really difficult things done, okay? So sit down for a moment, think about all of these different projects. That's one thing you can do, right? Because that will help you to increase that confidence and that sense of self to say, okay, I totally got this. I'm coming up here, I'm coming back to the scale, and I'm actually able to start working on this project. Another thing that you can do, obviously, and that goes a little bit more back to productivity systems, is to break down the task. So, right, if you're here, you're feeling very light and that task feels really heavy, well, maybe you need to break down this task in just 1/5 of it so the task doesn't feel as heavy and you can start working on just one part of it, right? This is when we talk about, breaking down a project and making sure that you are just starting with something instead of just seeing that mountain of all of the things that you need to get done. So breaking down parts from your project is obviously super helpful in order to get things done and get things started, because this is the other thing that I talk about in the other procrastination video. It is really important that you learn that motivation is not equal to motivation. Don't wait for motivation to come first, because you're going to wait forever. So this is the second thing that you can do in order to overcome that, right? Number 1, write a list of things that make you feel more confident. Number 2, break down that task in more achievable parts, so in order to get started. And then number 3, obviously, what else can you do to increase your confidence levels? Maybe you need to do something else, right? I just told you about all of these other things, right? Getting a cup of tea, reorganizing your to-do list, maybe cleaning your kitchen. Sometimes we get distracted with all of these other super important things just to not start this task. And then I find it really interesting because then oftentimes you are so tired by the time you are trying to get to this task that you're not going to get started. And then this rhythm just repeats itself the next day and the next day and the next day, and you're never starting with this task. So one of the things that I actually really like to do is to challenge myself to start just for 5 minutes, or for 5 minutes, for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes. And to just tell myself, okay, I'm just going to do something super small for 5 minutes in order to get started. And if I really don't feel like it, if I really just don't want to do it, then I just put it aside, and then at least I can tell myself I've tried and I've done something. Very often you are actually going to continue, because once you get into the flow of things, you're actually going to start enjoying it. Again, I'm going to explain that in the other video. And sometimes it might also just help to do all of these other things, right? Sometimes we feel like we need to be super organized and we have everything out of the way and we cannot have any distractions anymore. So we don't have any excuses anymore to get started. Sometimes it's all about removing distractions, obviously. I do have a video about notifications and things like that on my YouTube channel as well, so make sure to check it out here. And so sometimes you just remove all of the different distractions, notifications, and you just focus on this one thing. But I hope now that this is really, really clear. It has not really anything to do with good time management, productivity systems, but all about your emotional misalignment. And you want to balance that equation. You want to bring your confidence, your sense of self back up to the task, so you can start tackling the task, okay? That's all I wanted to share with you today. Super simple, right? Super, super powerful, one secret. And if you can master that, then there is nothing really standing in the way anymore of you getting the thing done. So I really, really hope that you found this video helpful. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Leave me a comment down below on what kind of task you are procrastinating on right now. And I really, really hope that I see you in the next video.